Yoga teachers. If you want to become a good yoga teacher, you have to work at it. You have to ask for help so you can get better, and you need to get serious about doing the work it takes to improve. I've done a lot of not exactly comfortable self improvement work over the years, and I know it's helped. 20 plus years ago, when I was a teaching assistant in graduate school, my colleagues and I did a lot of peer review of each other's classes. And when I worked on public radio, the chief announcer and I would regularly listen to my tapes. I'd get critique from them and also offer my own self critique. I still remember in my belly how stressful these self improvement reviews were. So I get it, it's not fun, but it's really important so that you can reach your potential as a teacher and so you can help as many people as possible teaching yoga. I know that growth is hard. Growth requires being uncomfortable. But without opening yourself up to constructive criticism, there will be no growth at all, and your career will wither on the vine. All your good intentions about helping your students through yoga will come to nothing if you don't challenge yourself to improve. Let me talk you through some ways to make this often uncomfortable process a little easier. First off, when you are looking for feedback, your students aren't the best ones to ask. Instead, ask other teachers. Your students don't want to hurt your feelings. If they don't like your class, for the most part, they vote with their feet and don't return. If they do come back, that's a win. But even if you ask them why they came back, you might not get a response beyond, "I felt great after the last class." See, students can't give you the best feedback. They don't have the tools to describe what worked and what didn't. It's like a chef cooking for, say, a teenage soccer team. They won't have the palate or vocabulary to critique the food. They're just glad to eat. Your peers, especially your colleagues in teacher training and at the venue where you teach, they will be better. To get useful feedback, a chef must serve other chefs and experienced eaters, not the hungry soccer team. And it's probably best if these chefs are skilled in the same kind of cooking. That is, your best evaluators will come from a similar background as you do, and they will work with a student population similar to yours. I suggest you invite a friend to class expressly to offer you evaluation. This might be one of your studio colleagues or one of your yoga teacher training buddies. If your friend can set up discreetly in the back, they may even make a few notes. If the venue allows observation and you're especially open and willing to succeed, you can have them sit and watch instead of participating, or record a whole class for them to review. But that's not always feasible. At my studio, Carberry Yoga, we don't allow non-participating students to sit and observe class, as we think it creates a strange situation for the participating students. But at your class, it might make sense. Just let the students know what's happening, or that you are recording yourself because you want to be the best teacher possible for your students. If you already teach in video format, share a recording with a peer to get feedback. Then listen carefully to their input and make the tweaks you need so that you can help your students better. And if you have the pleasure of having other teachers in class, teachers you didn't invite on purpose, don't flinch, rejoice. While your first reaction might be to recoil in horror, thinking you are going to be judged, please reframe your reaction. Unless another teacher is explicitly sent to offer feedback, they're not in your class to evaluate you nor to steal from you. They want to be led through a practice and not have to make decisions. As I often put it, they want someone else to drive the bus. Celebrate having teachers as students. When I have colleagues in class, I make a point of introducing them. This serves a few purposes. First, it cross-promotes their classes. I'll say something like, "This is Alexandra, who teaches the Pilates class before this class. Her class and mine are wonderful back-to-back. And Alexandra is my regular sub. You'll see her in 2 weeks when I'm teaching out of town." Second, introducing the other teachers in your class creates a friendly vibe. Students love to know that teachers are students too, and that the studio community is a supportive one. Third, it gives the teacher permission to practice in their own way without intimidating students. Oh, students will think, "That's a teacher, so they've been doing this a while. I'm not going to bend like they do." Sometimes I'll even point this out loud so students don't compare themselves. Best of all, having teachers in class means you have a group of potential subs who know exactly how you run your classroom and what and how you teach. This is priceless for providing your students continuity when you're away, and thus for best supporting their practices. Your subs don't have to want to teach exactly like you, but having subs who understand what your students expect is priceless. And when you do have a colleague in class, ask them for feedback. They probably won't give it unless you ask. Remember, teachers are always better equipped than students to give you helpful advice. Students will say only, "I liked it," or "that felt good," or "that was hard." Teachers can tell you straight about the clarity of your cueing, the fluidity of your sequences, and the filler words you rely on. Here's another method to be the best yoga teacher you can be: self-assessment. Much of the development you'll see as a teacher comes in tiny, incremental pieces week to week as you reflect on your previous class and plan for the next one. Build some time into your post-class calendar to make room for self-assessment. Have you heard of a hostess diary? It's an old-fashioned device to record a personal debrief after throwing a party. You can find some cute ones on Amazon or at fancy stationery stores. The great hostesses make notes after each party. What was the theme or occasion of the party? What was served? Who sat where? What was discussed? What could be changed for next time? Who should never be invited back? Who should you invite back every time? The same practice works well for yoga teachers. As soon as is feasible after class and no later than the next day, take some notes of your own in your journal or notes file. Here's a journal prompt for you, and I suggest you do this after every class. It doesn't need to take long at all. Make notes on your last class. What did you plan? What went well? What surprised you? Was there any deviation from your plan? And if so, why? How did it land? What did not go well? If it works for you, you can list these as roses or the pros, thorns or the cons, and buds or things to build on for next time. If you wrote out a class plan ahead of time, either on paper or better yet on your computer where you can't leave it behind at the studio or lose it, this could simply be another column or section in the notes, including the date and your reflections on what happened. And I suggest you do plan ahead of time. For an easy method, see The Art of Yoga Sequencing or join me for Plan a Month in an Hour, my regular lesson planning co-working session. You'll find both at sageroundtree.com. Now, there's one really quick way to get better right away, and it uses the very tool you're probably holding right now. It's to record yourself and watch the video. I suggest you do this every few months. Here's how. First, record yourself during a real class. This doesn't have to be a professional grade video. Even 5 minutes captured on your phone will teach you a whole lot. Be sure you let your students know that you are doing this solely for your self-improvement, and angle the camera so that your students aren't on screen, or obtain their permission before including them in the shot. Once you've got the recording, take a few deep breaths, settle down, and watch it. Here's what to do. Number 1, be alone. Watch the video and allow yourself all the cringing you want. If your experience is like mine, you'll think in quick succession, do I really look like that? Do I really sound like that? And when did I turn into my mother? Now, in my case, to be clear, that's a good thing, if a little shocking. All right, number 2, start the video over. Look for the good. Pinpoint at least 3 things you did well. Step number 3, start over again. Listen for the filler. Hear your go-to words and determine which could be cut. If you don't hear any, try transcribing your own video, which will likely make them jump out. Even 5 minutes of typing a transcription will show you what you could cut out and replace with silence. You will very quickly type and see every extraneous word. Even 10 minutes of this transcription task will help you immensely. Step number 4, start the video over yet again. Use a timer to gauge whether you're offering a similar duration of hold on both sides of asymmetrical poses. And listen to hear whether you give students express permission to stay longer or move out of a pose early. If you like, follow along with the class and see how it feels. Step number 5, repeat this exercise, making a new recording and reviewing it again at regular intervals. Aim to do it a few times each year. I know, it's awkward, bordering on cringe, but self-review with video is one of the quickest tools to make you the best teacher you can be. Here's another writing exercise. It can be helpful to articulate what kind of teacher you want to be so that you have a goal to be striving toward and to know when you are meeting your vision for yourself as a teacher. Periodic redefinition or reinforcement of your goals will keep you on track. Here's a self-inquiry prompt to get you started. Begin by noting what you think your own teachers do well. Write a little about the tone your teachers use with students in class and out of class, the body language and physical reaction your teachers use with students in class and out of class, and the interactions you see your teachers use with students in class and out of class, including on social media if relevant. Next, write a description of the kind of teacher you want to be. Notice any friction between how you want to act and how you feel you have been acting. Finally, given what you know about your students and the content of the class, write a little about the right tone for the class. Is it drill sergeant, sympathetic coach, caring mother figure, sassy best friend? Repeat for each of the classes in your schedule because they could be different. When you review recordings of your class, be sure to check whether the tone you hear matches the tone you meant to convey. Now, don't forget to be an ongoing student. If you want to become almost everyone's favorite teacher, I encourage you to go to class as a student this week and every week. Not only is it good for your studenthood, it will make you a better teacher. Take classes with the teacher's ear. Listen for what works and what doesn't. Stay attuned to the choices, both conscious and unconscious, that your teachers make when you are in the classroom. Feel your way through transitions that are useful. Notice how it feels and how the room looks when something doesn't land. Set up in different parts of the room to see what the student experience is like there. The view from the back and the front could be vastly different. Being closer to the door or window or farther from it may affect the student experience a lot. It's especially useful to be a student in the very classrooms where you teach, so you can notice things that you won't see when you're teaching. Strive to have the same experience your students have, down to using the studio-issued mat. You may find that your hands slip in downward-facing dog or your knees need some extra cushioning in tabletop. And these observations can translate into creating a more positive experience for your students when you offer modifications in the next class. Make note of anything that works particularly well and consider how you would do things differently when things don't work well. It can help to put this down on paper or to write it down immediately after class. For example, my don'ts would be having the music too quiet. I find this a distraction. Shining bright light in my eyes, and not telling students what to expect in the course of the class. Here's another way to get better at teaching yoga. Assist other teachers. If you want to be a better yoga teacher, be a teaching assistant. Once you're comfortable offering manual assists or even just quiet verbal cueing and demonstrating in a large beginner class, offer to assist in a friend's class or your primary teacher's class. This affords you a chance to look at what's happening at some remove. You can observe the teacher without needing to follow their cues, which gives you insight into language, energy, tone, and pacing. You can see which cues land and which don't. You can also observe the students, both as a whole and as individuals, without being in charge of holding the entire room at once. Then after each class you assist, make notes as you would for your own class. List the sequence and, if relevant, the theme. Detail who was in the room. Note roses, thorns, and buds. or keep straps and ads. This will help fast-track your development as a teacher. And it will get you exposed to a broad range of students who will then recognize you and eventually come take your class. You can get even better at teaching yoga while multitasking. Just watch lots of video. Pop on a yoga video next time you're chopping vegetables. This isn't for your practice, it's for your teaching. You can find classes with a wide range of teachers online, and you can learn something from each of them. If there's a class you especially enjoyed participating in as a student, watch it again as an observer without participating. See if you can reverse engineer what makes it special. Is it the teacher's sequencing, cueing, pacing, language, or something else? Work backward from the parts you like best to discover ways you can recreate the magic in your own classes. Here's a favorite quote of mine. The humorist Finley Peter Dunne wrote that it is the duty of newspapers to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I love this idea. Comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And I would apply this in a very serious way to yoga teachers. I've learned a lot from watching master teachers who comfort the afflicted by reassuring students when they are confused, and who afflict the comfortable by challenging those who would benefit from it. When you watch more teachers, you'll be developing your own unique voice so you can serve your students best. If you want to see how I teach movement, click on over to my virtual studio at sageroundtree.com. There you'll see both direct-to-camera classes and a vault of live classes with students present. There's a free 7-day trial to get you started.